when this is all said and done, nobody wins in a shutdown.
That's right.
Right. I think our colleagues on the other side of the aisle probably should have read the book on shutdowns because it was written by Republicans.
At the end of the week, Washington empties out fast. Lawmakers, staffers, they're all heading home. But not before they stop here. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Punchbowl News Townhouse for another episode of Flyout Day. It was a late one for the House last night, although not nearly as late as it could have been, but the US government is finally open again after a 43-day shutdown. I'm solo today. This is the first episode of Flyout Day solo in Punchbowl News' history. Anna is on the road in Texas. We are participating in our second year of full programming to help kick off the Texas Tribune Festival in Austin, Texas, one of my favorite cities. I'm not bitter at all. Anna and our reporters will lead conversations with policymakers, business executives, and leading editorial voices from across the country. I'm holding down the fort here today. We're making this into an episode about college basketball, GW basketball, won by 40 last night, Fish, Grateful Dead, the jam band scene, different golf equipment reviews. I'm kidding. We have House Majority Whip Tom Emmer in the townhouse today. He's been navigating the shutdown with his leadership team, and his role as vote counter was critical last night. We're also joined by an all-star panel, Marianna Sotomayor of the Washington Post and Scott Wong of NBC News. Very excited to have them in the townhouse. We will get right to it after a quick word from our presenting sponsor, BlackRock.
1/3 of U.S. voters surveyed have no retirement savings, according to BlackRock's latest retirement policy survey. BlackRock seeks to help more people retire on their own terms. They help people invest smarter to grow their savings, manage risk, and build confidence for the years ahead. BlackRock is helping more Americans invest better to retire better.
Tom Emmer, the House Majority Whip from Minnesota, welcome to the Punchbowl News Townhouse. We are happy to have you. The shutdown is now behind us. It was a long shutdown, October 1st until yesterday. You lost 2 votes on the CR. Tom Massey of Kentucky, no surprise there. Greg Steube of Florida, a bit of a surprise. Some extenuating circumstances on the provision the Senate slipped in on suing the government. 6 Democrats voted for the bill. No question, Democrats instigated the shutdown. I don't think they would even argue with that. Why do you think that polls show you guys getting hammered for, causing the shutdown or getting blamed for the shutdown?
You know how I feel about polls, Jake. You and I, people use polls that they believe say what they want them to say, and people reject polls that don't. Realistically, I think when this is all said and done, nobody wins in a shutdown.
That's right.
Right. I think our colleagues on the other side of the aisle probably should have read the book on shutdowns because it was written by Republicans. Right. You cannot leverage your policy objectives from the minority by holding the government and the American people hostage. It doesn't work.
Right.
But you had 65,000, according to the chamber, 65,500 small businesses who contract with the federal government. In the first 30 days, this thing lasted 43 days. In the first 30 days, those small businesses across this country, Jake, lost $12 billion that they're not going to get back.
Right.
We've got a big country, 300 million. So you talk about where the pain was being felt in that first month. It would have been our military servicemen and women, but President Trump figured out a way to pay them that month. It really didn't start. The people, the vast majority of Americans weren't really impacted and didn't notice until about 2 weeks ago, which is why this is picking up just now. It was when the Tuesday when air traffic controllers did not receive a paycheck. It was Wednesday when more federal workers were furloughed or didn't get a paycheck, I should say. Thursday, same thing. Saturday, a week ago Saturday, when 42 million low-income Americans had their SNAP benefits, their nutrition benefits threatened, when WIC programs, people who rely on WIC, women, infant, children, when those were being interrupted, Head Start, this was all picking up. And then, of course, last weekend, when Sean Duffy, our Secretary of Transportation, made it clear that, look, we're not putting planes up in the sky if we can't guarantee 100% safety. So they started cutting the airspace by 10%. I think that's still going to go on today and maybe even tomorrow.
I think they're freezing it. I think they're not cutting any additional flights, but I saw cancellations yesterday went quite low. I think or disruptions were like half of what they were the day before. So listen, it'll take time, I think, for the country to get back to a normal state of equilibrium, if we're ever at a state of equilibrium.
No, but that's the long explanation of why I think you can pick your poll and it'll say whatever you want it to say. The reality is nobody wins in these things.
And you think, by extension, I think you would say most likely, does this even factor in 2026? I mean, it's 12 months away. Either way.
The attention span of America is a nanosecond.
Right.
We move on to whatever is the next big thing like that, right? People, for instance, the taking out the nuclear facilities in Iran, that just happened just a few months ago, but it feels like it's years ago. So, no, I don't think this will be the issue. The issue will be the economy. The issue will be, do people feel like they're in a better place than they were when Donald Trump was first elected? And does their economic future look bright? I think that's going to be the key to the midterms.
Now let's talk about the other big story of yesterday's story that just won't go away for Republicans is this Jeffrey Epstein situation. The House Oversight Committee Democrats released emails that had Jeffrey Epstein saying President Trump, then a private citizen, was in a house with one of Epstein's girls, expressing surprise that he hadn't spilled to the cops. It seems to me, let's focus under the dome for a second. You guys gave the Oversight Committee kind of leeway to conduct this investigation. These emails came from the Oversight Committee, from the Democrats. They released it. Is that a mistake to let the Oversight Committee kind of run wild with this?
Actually, I want to go back to the disingenuous nature of our colleagues on the left.
Right. Well,
I mean, you know that they had 4 years where they could have been doing this. This is supposed to be about the victims of these heinous crimes and the people that committed the crimes. It's about getting justice for those victims. Not for our colleagues on the other side of the aisle. This has never been about justice and the victims for Democrats. What this has been about is their hatred of Donald Trump. Otherwise, Jake, why did they decide to release 3 documents out of almost 60,000 documents that have already been published by the House Oversight Committee, including the Epstein estates documents? And by the way, in those 3 documents, they redact the victim who is public and made it clear that Donald Trump did absolutely nothing. So it's clear what their real intentions are here. Republicans are more interested in finding the truth and making sure that the victims, that's who we should be most concerned about, that the victims get justice and the people that victimize them are actually the ones that pay the price.
That discharge petition is hit 218, Tom Massey's discharge petition on the Epstein files. The Speaker Mike Johnson, says he's going to put it on the floor next week. You could delay it another week. It eventually has to come to the floor. A lot of your colleagues think there's going to be a jailbreak, that just a bunch of Republicans are going to vote for it now. You're the whip. Do you share that assessment, or you think it's...
I don't really care. I mean, Mike Johnson would have brought this up last night, but for the fact that we were reopening the government and everybody wanted to get back to the districts and get to work. We don't whip a discharge petition. No, absolutely not. And again, it should be about the victims and justice, not about Ro Khanna and Democrats' hatred of Donald Trump, because that's all they're doing. Let's follow through what the Republicans have been doing and what the Republicans are doing, which is getting all of the truth and making sure The victims are the ones that we keep in focus, and we hold those that committed the crimes accountable for what they did.
One last question on this. Do you think this is going to be that Jeffrey Epstein in this situation will be a campaign issue in 2026?
I don't think it's been. I think you guys have been making it an issue the whole time because it's fun to watch a car accident when Republicans and Democrats are fighting with one another. My goodness, I think the bigger story yesterday was when a Democrat stood up and censured another Democrat on the House floor.
I was shocked by that.
Wow. That's a bigger story than this one. This one, it'll get voted on next week, and then you guys will have to find something else salacious.
Well, we have a lot of other things to talk about that are not salacious. Well, maybe they are salacious. The government shuts down in 78 days again, which is not that far in the future because you're out for Thanksgiving, you're out for the holiday season in December. You have to pass another 9 appropriations bills in that time frame. What is your biggest challenge going into that process?
I think you just hit it. It's the calendar.
Yeah.
That's the biggest challenge. The good news is the appropriators, the Republicans and Democrats in the House and the Senate, you know this, Jake, because sorry.
You know what? I'm named after someone named Jack. Well, so
I got a Jack in my family and I got a brother, but that isn't why. It's just early in the morning.
It's early, yep.
The tongue's not working completely. You know that because you talk to all these guys, they have been communicating since this shutdown started. They've been talking about where they have points of disagreement.
The appropriators, I mean.
Yeah, and so they told us that those first 3 bills were essentially ready to go. Clearly they were. They would have been done back in September had we actually kept the government working for the purpose that we're supposed to be here. Unfortunately, politics on the left, I believe, got in the way. Now, they tell us there's another 3, perhaps even 6 that are pretty close to being done. There are going to be bumps along the way because Republicans and Democrats don't agree on all these things. Yeah. But we know, our people know they got to get at least 7 Democrats in the Senate.
Right.
So they're going to work together, and their goal is to get the entire budget done. I would like to see us getting it done around Christmas rather than waiting till January, but we'll see.
You think you want to get all 9 of these appropriations bills done this calendar year?
I would love to see that done. Are you kidding?
Yep.
Is the whip? Do you really want me to be working at the end of January trying to find those last few votes? I'd rather be doing that right at the end of the year and get it done.
Well, talking about problems, I want to dig in a little bit to what happened yesterday. The Senate put in this language on this being able to sue the government if their data, if their cell phone records are collected. Lindsey Graham has said he's probably going to sue the government for that. You had a lot of members who were pretty hot on this, and your leadership has said they had no idea this was coming down the pike. And Mike Johnson says he's going to put a bill on the floor next week to repeal it. Democrats and Republicans are pretty rightly, infuriated by this. I mean, how big of a problem was this? And obviously, you're going to try to take this out when the full spending bills come. But give me your sense on that. How big of a deal was this for you?
Well, it shows what happens when you have a 43-day shutdown and you don't have regular orders.
The Senate was also trying to screw you guys, right?
Well, I don't know. You'd have to ask them that. I can't read their mind. I can tell you that I think the provision is complete bullshit the way it's written. I mean,
it is.
Literally, it's slopped together. As a lawyer, I'm telling you, I think it's slopped together. I understand trying to clarify the statute that they were.
That's not what they're trying to do.
That was fine.
Yeah.
But putting a number in it and not making it clear what is per occurrence, it wasn't ready for prime time, and it really is kind of disgusting the way it looks when you put a number in like that. You didn't have to do that.
But people were pretty hot to you, I imagine, your members.
Well, this is why when we have the 2 guys that didn't want to vote for this, we actually had a whole bunch more when they saw that problem,
so, right?
And thankfully, they listened to Mike, who he is adamant that he's going to work with the White House. We're going to deal with that because while the senators have a valid argument, I understand, and I'm not going to condemn.
And their
them.
argument would be that that senators should be, or members of Congress should be aware when their data is targeted.
Well, I'm going to give you one more because this is the part that irritates me. As a American citizen, I know that Jack Smith was as crooked as the day is long, and he was out subpoenaing other American citizens and other American organizations the same way he was doing it for the senators. Why is it that senators or myself as an elected official get more protection than the average American citizen? That's the part that really bothered me when I saw it. It's like, no, I think all of these people should have the same ability. There should be some recourse against someone who is on a political jihad as opposed to a search for justice.
Now let's move to healthcare. This was at the heart of the shutdown. I know you guys tried to make it. Democrats said, they wanted to roll back healthcare. They wanted to roll back healthcare cuts, rather. They wanted to stop the president from rescinding money. The heart of this shutdown was these Obamacare enhanced premium tax credits, which expire at the end of the year. For or against extending them in their current form?
First off, when you talk about this is not the only party that was on message with the Democrats' message on healthcare was the journalists. They weren't even on message. It was about healthcare. It was about Trump. It was about democracy.
Well, yeah, I think it was about this. It was a strategic mistake, I think.
68 strategic mistake. They're absolutely out of their mind. They don't know what they're for. They only know what they're against, and that's Donald J. Trump. That's all this is about. To argue that it was about healthcare, well, okay, maybe, because their law, their Affordable Care Act is what has caused the entire problem with healthcare today. I mean, this is the thing that has made it unaffordable for most Americans. And this idea that it was about healthcare first is nonsense in my mind. But the second part is, even if we assumed that that is what it was about, we want to extend the enhanced premium tax credits that were created temporarily because of the extraordinary situation caused by COVID. We set them to expire at the end of this month. And now we're telling you that the only way we can support this law and people that want health care is by extending these for another year. Forget the cost, just talk about the policy and what will actually happen. So if we extend it for a year, Jake, the average increase for health insurance right now, the premiums, is about 30%. This would cover roughly 5% of the 30. I mean, Democrats, I believe, are either living in a fantasy land, trying to pretend that they aren't the ones that did this, or they're trying to shift blame like they always do to somebody else. They created the healthcare crisis. Guess what? Donald Trump and Republicans are going to have to fix it. And there are all kinds of ideas. You've seen Trump talking about HSAs. You've seen Republicans talk about different pooling ideas. There's all kinds of things have been out there for years. And the hope is now, as the whip, I'm not going to tell you yes or no, because if the White House and Republicans and Democrats say we need to set up a program that weans people off of this or whatever, okay, great. We'll sell that to our members. We'll get that passed.
Extend the credits while you...
It's some kind of step thing I've heard them talk about. And I don't know what's right or wrong. Obviously, as a member, I'd have my own opinions, but as the whip, my job is not to tell a member that your idea is a bad one. My job is to help them communicate that idea and see where it goes and see if they can solve the problem. So I think all Republicans and Democrats, first, our colleagues on the other side of the aisle are going to have to just face the reality that the Affordable Care Act has destroyed the healthcare marketplace in this country. We got to stop just pumping money into fat and happy health insurers at the expense of the American people's ability to have choice, have transparency, and literally have competition in the marketplace. We've got to restore that.
Okay, so... But it is your responsibility now to figure something out, right? I mean, you're in charge, so you got to figure something out. 48 days till the end of the year. I mean, these expire at the end of the year, so you're going to want to probably get something done before the end of the year. You think that's possible?
I will leave that. Those decisions are up to Mike Johnson. I would say this to you. Anything is possible. We were told that we would never be able to pass the reconciliation bill. We were told we would never be able to pass a budget resolution. I mean, it went on and on. Jake, people have
I was one of those people.
Yeah, but I'm doing my passive aggressive Minnesotan. I'm not directly attacking you.
I know, I can feel it.
Don't underestimate us.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you to put your political hat on. You were the NRCC chair. You were involved in this stuff for a long time. 2018 election, you lost, at least in part because of healthcare. I think that's fair to say. Everybody agrees with that. You're diving back into this debate now. How much does that concern you? This has been a bad topic for you guys for 15 years. I mean, I don't think anyone disagrees with that.
Yeah, I think, though, to suggest healthcare cost us the 2018 election ignores the mechanics of what goes on the
Forget
ground
I
of
said
campaigns.
that. Healthcare was not a good topic for you.
I'm going to explain it.
Okay.
Because what we did on the Republican side, and by the way, this is what we changed in the 2020 cycle when we took over the NRCC. We ran the same commercial from New York to New Mexico, from Washington State to Florida. By the way, Jake, it was a commercial on pre-existing conditions. And
I remember that, right? Yeah.
not exactly the strong suit that Republicans were offering back at that time. It was a huge mistake. So seeing what happened, and by the way, we only lost our majority by a cumulative vote total of about 120,000 across the entire country. It was that close. If you fast forward to the next cycle, we changed it to a target marketing. You got to figure out its candidate. It's the message in that demographic and that geography. What's the message that is most important to those voters? What is going to engage them and motivate them to come out and vote for your candidate? And then it's money. In this case, I don't think it's going to be for the House health care, for House seats. It very well could be healthcare. And
So you're
you have to
saying
have a
you think
solution.
the bigger climate is going to be the cost of living stuff, the affordability.
Absolutely.
Okay, so but inflation's still a problem. You've lost in many polls, and I agree. You could find polls that say whatever the hell you want. And I'm not Kevin McCarthy. You say you don't like this poll. Wait until it's like the weather. Wait until tomorrow. It'll be sunny tomorrow if it's rainy today. I get it. So give me your case. If you've lost your advantage in the economy, some polls say inflation, healthcare. Give me the case you're going to keep the House.
Well, first off, it's too early.
I agree.
For anybody to, on my side or otherwise, to prognosticate that, the House is going to flip, et cetera, those assessments will become more clear as we get to next spring, next summer, and obviously as we move into the fall. I'm telling you, it is all about the economy. Yep. We have the argument. They do not. Why do I say that? Because what did they do under Joe Biden? They did the American Rescue Plan. Economists have called that the original sin. They were warned that if you pump this $2 trillion into an already bloated, cash-wise economy, you are going to drive costs up, and because the services and goods are more scarce, right? They drove double-digit inflation like we hadn't seen in 40 years. They lost the election in large part because of that.
Yeah.
Donald Trump inherited a broken economy. I mean, the idea that, boom, you fix what Joe Biden and the Democrats...
Well, he said he would.
Literally, he has been.
Okay.
So this is the problem, is you're in the first year, he has done more than I would argue any sitting president has accomplished in the past century. Maybe since World War II, all right? He has been nothing short of phenomenal. But the economy it's one of those things that you plant the seeds and it grows. He's already driving down the cost of goods. The groceries are down. There's an article in a left-wing paper called the Minneapolis Tribune last week.
Star Tribune.
It's now called the Minnesota Tribune.
Is it?
Yes. They're trying to misrepresent who they're writing to, but that's a different thing.
I interned there, so please
it must have been great back then.
It was.
Yes. They have not done it any service since. The article said Target slashes prices on eggs, on milk. All right. Great. He is fixing the economy. And frankly, the bill that was passed in July, the permanent tax provisions, notwithstanding that it also includes no taxes on overtime, no taxes on tip, which will all take hold next year.
So you think the economy just improves? That's your view.
So most experts will tell you it'll take a full 2 years for the impact of that to
No, that's the problem, because you got an election.
But you should start feeling it next spring and next summer, and it should be improving right through. If that's correct, yeah, we're going to hold the House.
Yeah. Okay. Rapid fire redistricting around the country. The story of this cycle, to me, it's the biggest story of the cycle. Good idea, bad idea.
It doesn't matter. It is what it is. It's like anything else. It's like when California changes its election laws and they create ballot harvesting and Republicans are like, ooh, that's unfair. Those are the rules.
Right.
This is the same thing. Okay, redistricting is going to change California. It's going to change Texas, Ohio, Missouri, perhaps Virginia. Great. We'll just deal with it, whatever the map looks like.
Not much you could do. You have 7 kids. You must have a favorite. Who is it?
Well, I told all my kids while they were growing up, you're my favorite. Don't tell any of the others. I use this with members now, but I did it.
They do tell people. They have big mouths.
Yeah, well,
luckily for us.
They tell you probably.
Yeah, that's right.
I tell them they're my favorite. Don't tell any of the others, just like I did with my kids. I have 3 boys. I have a daughter, and I have 3 more boys. And when the 3 older boys started to hit their teens, that was when the first one looked at me and said, you say that to every one of us. And I said, yes, I do. But your sister is my favorite.
That's a good line.
Yes.
Do you still play hockey?
I do.
Why? This is like...
What are you talking about?
It's a violent... It's not a... It's like a... For, I feel like I walk off a basketball court and my knees and back and everything hurts.
Skating is the easiest possible thing you can do on your knees.
You've been injured playing hockey, haven't you?
What's that?
You've been injured playing hockey?
Yeah, but that was shoulders. I've never hurt my... well, that's not true. I got kneed once. That was like a Charlie thing or whatever they call it.
Charlie horse.
Yeah, hockey is a game that you can play, as I told my 85-year-old mother, I think I can play well into my 70s.
Hey, good luck. Last question, we'll wrap on this. One word to describe Speaker Mike Johnson.
Surprising.
You're surprised by his performance?
No, I mean, he just is getting better.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been surprising, and I think he's surprised himself.
Yeah.
I think I could give you another word, articulate.
Yeah.
I
said one word, though, so that's...
Well, but I could change surprising to articulate, or I could say surprisingly articulate and hyphenate it.
Call it one. No, you don't hyphenate if it's an LY. Okay. Tom Emmer of Minnesota, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jake.
1/3 of U.S. voters surveyed have no retirement savings, according to BlackRock's latest retirement policy survey. BlackRock seeks to help more people retire on their own terms. They help people invest smarter to grow their savings, manage risk, and build confidence for the years ahead. Together, these efforts help people feel more confident about planning for the future and the life they want to live. BlackRock is helping more Americans invest better to retire better.
Marianna Sotomayor, Scott Wong, Marianna of the Washington Post, Scott Wong of NBC News. Welcome to the Townhouse. First solo show ever. I'm really nervous. I'm sweating. I'm shaking.
You got this.
I usually have Anna as my emotional clutch.
It's like
today.
holding your hand.
Yeah, I'm imagining Anna here. Okay, top takeaway. Start with you, Marianna, on Tom Emmer. What was the newsiest thing he said, if he said anything newsy at all?
Well, okay, 2 things to me, but I would say what he said on the Epstein files, it's just been so fascinating. The information that keeps coming out.
Yeah.
And the fact that Republicans are like, and Emmer said this too, well, we're the ones for putting the information out there. Okay, but it is pretty damning to the president, and it could only potentially get worse.
Yep.
There's much more files out there.
Also, the other thing to me, and here's what I'll say about this. I have 2 thoughts. Number 1, this is coming from the Republican-run House Oversight Committee. And by the way, Mike Johnson bragged for a while about how he was, the Oversight Committee was subpoenaing the Epstein estate, and the discharge petition didn't do that. Like, this was a point of pride for them. That's number 1. Number 2, the other thing I thought, Scott, that was fascinating is he says, number 1, the shutdown won't play in the 2026 election. And Epstein, he thinks, is not going to play in the 2026 election. I'm not saying yes or no. I have no idea. I mean, in Trump years, we're 75 years from the election because it's a year away, and we could be, who the hell knows where we'll be in a year. I just thought those 2 things were fascinating.
He used the word nanosecond. Everyone, in America on Capitol Hill has the attention span of a nanosecond. Yeah. That stood out to me because, it's right. He's right, because think about what's going to happen between now and election day 2026. There's going to be hundreds of stories that we will be chasing, and the shutdown will be very far in the rearview mirror. If anyone even remembers it. The one thing I do think that could play into 2026, having to do with this last 43 days, are the images that came out of the shutdown. Right, the people in food lines, the airport lines, right? The delays and the cancellation. I was just in Austin, the other day, and had to deal with 2-hour delays in Baltimore and 2-hour delays in Austin, and the airports were just jam-packed. People remember that, and they'll remember those images. Now, who gets blamed for that, that's another
The
question.
other thing he said that was interesting to me was talking about 2026, how healthcare could impact House seats. I haven't necessarily heard that from a Republican leader yet. Of course, I agree with you all. We are a gazillion years away.
Yeah.
Who knows what atmosphere and political situation will be a year from now? But I mean, even before the shutdown, right? The one issue that Democrats were actually polling well on was healthcare.
Yeah.
Voters were like, I trust them on that issue. Republican Party, everything else.
Yeah.
We've kind of started to see a switch on a number of other issues, but I don't know how they come out of this. And it's fair to say that Democratic leadership has made very clear that healthcare is going to continue to be their issue, tying that to affordability, which Emmer said is going to be what the election is about. Cost of living.
And you're already seeing, the divide in the party on the issue of healthcare. We were asking senators, we're asking House members when they're back. They're all over the map on this issue. Some want to get rid of the subsidies altogether and watch them go away, right? They're created under Democrats.
By the way, you can count Speaker Johnson in that.
Johnson and I think Emmer too, right? And also, other senators are saying, okay, we need restrictions. We want all of these restrictions on these subsidies. And others are Jen Kiggans, right? Swing state Republican says she wants a 1-year extension. She's working across the aisle with Democrats on that. So they are all over the map. Their messaging right now is all over the map. You would think that they'd have some sort of cohesive message after they've been sitting around twiddling their thumbs for 43 days. But this is going to split the party heading into 2026.
So what happens? What happens here? So, we now are 40-something days until the end of the year when these subsidies go away, actually. they're already basically gone away, right? Because people are already getting their notices. People already see that their premiums are going up. Give me both of your thoughts. What do you think? I'll tell you what I think happens. I think they're going to spend a month, 2 months, 3 months trying to get a healthcare deal. Trump is going to dream big because that's what he does. He's going to think that he could be the savior here and he could redo the entire healthcare infrastructure of our country. And it's going to drag Republicans into this spiral. And truth be told, they don't agree on healthcare. They don't. They have it for years. We've all seen it. So I think at the end of the day, I actually don't know what exactly happens, but I just think they get suckered into this for months at a time. Do you guys? What do you guys think happens?
Yeah, I think so. In the short term, I don't think there's enough time for them to come up with this solution.
Or maybe they do it for a year and Trump has to really work it hard.
And even if it's a year, that's pretty difficult, I think, right now to get the insurance companies to switch around after sending out the notices. It's going to get really messy and confusing for a lot of people. But the government's funded till January 30th. Are Democrats going to try and make the same pitch, whether it is on subsidies or another healthcare issue, and we find ourselves in the same position?
Did they shut it down again, Scott?
Sure, why not? They want to keep talking about healthcare, stay with the issue that actually unified the party for 40 days, right? This has been a party that has been absolutely in disarray for ever since Trump took office in January, right? They've been sort of searching for their voice. Well, during these 40 days, they actually had found their voice on healthcare. They were unified for the first time. They were able to stand up to Trump. And I think, why not do it again?
And if it's not the subsidies, it could be Medicaid, right? Because after the 2026 election, the cuts to the Medicaid, after 2026, that's what people are going to see next. So Democrats might lean that way.
Here's what I think. You brought up Medicaid, which is a really interesting point. And here's why it's easier for them to shut down the government this time. It's not the whole government, right? You have Milcon VA, Ag, and Ledge Branch completely funded. So if the government shuts down again, people on the Hill are going to be getting paid. SNAP isn't going anywhere. So maybe it's a little bit easier this time around. I don't know the answer to that. I think it's tough to shut down the government twice in one Congress. I just do.
Wasn't it interesting also the way that Trump approached this shutdown? It was almost like he had experience from past shutdowns and he was able to use various leverage and pain points in ways we had never really seen before, right? Being able to pay the military without Congress doing anything, funding WIC for that first initial month.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Reducing the airline travel, 4%, 6%, 10%, until the Democratic senators certainly started to feel some real pain and pressure and ultimately folded.
But what makes it interesting to me, in my view of how he handled this, the Democrats seem to be playing what we wrote in the newsletter a couple days ago was a 2017, 2018 Trump handbook, right? Playbook. the idea that Trump was going to split from Thune and Johnson, who were gung-ho on this idea that like Democrats need to fold, and they kept Trump in line. They did not split. And I was personally surprised by that because Trump's inclination is to cut a deal, right? He likes that more than anything. Right. And they didn't allow him to do it this time around. And you saw him getting shaky, right? You saw him after the election saying, well, we're getting killed by this. All the pollsters say it's our fault. He said it on camera. I mean, I was shocked by that. Let me ask you this, Marianna. Has the House an institution we all love, we've all covered for a long time, has it changed forever after this? After 50-something days, Johnson kept this thing out. I mean, are we going to look at a new climate for Congress?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sets a precedent. If a future speaker...
And Adelina Grijalva, too.
Yes, if a future speaker decides to do this, they can, right? I mean, it's not good for the institution at all. Jeffries was actually asked this question, and he did put blame on Speaker Johnson, saying that he has fundamentally changed the institution, made it more chaotic, and he himself also pledged that he would never not swear in a member of Congress in the future who might be elected during a special election. He said, I'm going to swear them in, the day after they win.
I thought it was a unforced error by Johnson, to be honest with you. I don't mind saying that. I think he created a story here where there didn't really need to be one. He could have sworn her in. It wouldn't have cost him anything. I think he didn't want the Epstein thing to be a story at some point, and then I think he just dug himself deeper and deeper and deeper on this. We're going to go to a segment that Anna usually introduces, that I usually make a face about, which is That's Not Gonna Fly. Scott, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. The chief of staff, you've heard this story before, the chief of staff to Chuy Garcia files paperwork to run for her boss's seat just moments before the deadline closes.
It's amazing.
Chuy Garcia and his chief of staff are the only ones on the ballot. Chuy Garcia decides it's time for him to retire, leaving the only Democrat on the ballot, his chief of staff. Chicago politics is back.
It's amazing.
Which is funny because I am actually in the middle of reading the Rostenkowski book by our old colleague Richard Cohen.
Yeah.
And then Jake, I know you were talking about this morning. Chuy Garcia's colleague Maria Glusenkamp Perez takes the floor yesterday, introduces a resolution of disapproval against her own Democratic colleague, saying this is essentially not the way we do politics, not the way we do elections. This is essentially un-American. And I think that resolution will come to the floor. Now, they're out of session, but I think it comes to the floor sometime next week.
Yeah, most likely. I think the leadership has to decide. Marianna, what do you got?
Well, to me, again, to your question on the institution, held back a little bit so that I could say that what's not going to fly is that they were in session for one day.
One day.
By
the way, my favorite
days.
thing about that is Johnson says, we're going to have late nights, long days, and then he sends the House back after like 10 minutes.
And he also said, okay, well, next week on suspension, we're going to vote to repeal this Senate. The senators get $500,000. I'm like, you could have voted on that today. It has that much support.
And it will.
The Epstein discharge petition apparently could be under suspension, 2/3 support. Just vote on it.
I know.
We could have been there today. It's okay.
I know. I mean,
I've missed that.
Today's Thursday. We could have been there today and tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
But don't you think it's also interesting that Johnson says we're moving forward as soon as we get back on Epstein? He's not taking the full seven
Band-Aid.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think, and I didn't get around to this with Emmer, although I kind of did. I think they made way more of this discharge petition than they needed to. I think they could have it got 218. It was always going to get 218. It still has to pass the Senate. The president still has to sign it. The president's not going to sign it. It doesn't have veto proof numbers in the House. It doesn't have, I don't think, probably doesn't have veto proof numbers in the Senate. If they built this thing up. They did. I'm sorry.
You think they just handled this really poorly?
I think that they were under pressure from the White House. I think they didn't want it to be a distraction. And I think that's what guided them. And my conversations with the White House, people lie to me all the time. They lie to all of us. They say they don't really care. I don't know that that's true. I think they do care, but I think they could have just let this thing go. I will add my That's Not Gonna Fly, MGP related, Marie Glusenkamp Perez. this would not have happened under Nancy Pelosi. I know I'm going to get
100% would not have happened.
It would not have happened. Here's why it wouldn't have happened. They stepped on their own message. They were having a good day. They had the Epstein stuff. They had the shutdown, which they think is a good issue for them. And then they have a member go to the floor in the middle of all of that to dump on Chuy Garcia, a district that's 2,000 miles from Marie Glueson-Campera's district in Washington State. I don't understand the connection. This is not Chuy Garcia's sleight of hand is not a national story. I mean, this is not like a big deal.
And now it is.
Now we're talking about it.
And so now it's Dem on Dem violence. I don't, maybe not violence, but drama, disarray. The Dems find themselves slight disarray. But anyway, Scott, Marianna, thank you for being here. And thank you for being here on my first solo show. I survived.
You did great.
Oh, you guys are too nice. Another great episode of Flyout Day. I was solo today, as I've said about 65 times. It was a nerve-wracking experience. I finally feel like I have my zen back once again. We are now 48 days till the end of the year, 78 days until the government runs out of money. Once again, lots of action on the Hill. Next week, we're going to have the Epstein discharge petition come to the floor. Very, very curious to see just how many Republicans vote for that. I talked to Tom Emmer about this. A lot of people think there could be a jailbreak, meaning a ton of Republicans could vote for this because they don't want to be seen as voting against the release of these documents. This is something that the leadership is not working in the House. The Senate will also be back. Lots of action. Stick with Punchbowl News and come back next week for another episode of Flyout Day. Have a great week, a great weekend, and stay safe, everyone.